July 31, 1975. A young woman vanished from the University of Washington campus, and a handsome stranger with a perfect smile would later be identified as the mastermind behind a killing spree that shocked a nation. Ted Bundy, a name that still sends a chill through the corridors of true crime history, was a master of deception, a charismatic law student who hid a monstrous appetite for murder beneath the veneer of normalcy. Born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont, Bundy grew up in a tangled web of family secrets, never knowing his true father. Adopted by the Bundy family in Washington, he learned early how to blend in, to mask insecurity with a veneer of confidence. In high school, he was a quiet, awkward teen, yet by college he had honed a charismatic persona that could turn strangers into confidants with a single grin. Bundy entered the University of Washington in 1970, studying psychology while working as a crisis hotline volunteer, a role that gave him a glimpse into the fears of women, a demographic he would later prey upon. He transferred to the University of Puget Sound for a semester, then to a graduate program at the University of Utah, where his charm opened doors with professors and peers alike. To the outside world, he was the quintessential all-American male, tall, handsome, articulate, and seemingly respectable. The darkness began to surface in early 1974 when Bundy's first known victim, Karen Sparks, disappeared from the Seattle area after a night at a bar. He lured her into his car under the pretense of a friendly conversation, only to abandon her in a remote forest. Sparks survived, providing a chilling description that later helped investigators piece together the predator's methods. Over the next 2 years, Bundy refined a terrifying pattern. He would approach women alone, often in college dorms or coffee shops, feign injury by slipping a fake cast or crutch, and then overpower them with a swift, brutal force. By mid-1975, the bodies began to appear. In Colorado, the remains of 2 young women were found near the University of Colorado campus, their throats slashed, their bodies left in a pose that suggested a ritualistic signature. In Utah, the bodies of Linda Ann Healy and Deborah Kent, both college students, were discovered buried in a desert canyon, their faces bearing the same bite marks that would later become Bundy's macabre calling card. In Florida, the infamous Chi Omega sorority house murders on January 15, 1978, left 5 women dead, their bodies strewn across the living room, a scene that would be replayed in news footage across the country. Bundy's methodical approach involved meticulous planning. He would often pose as a police officer, flashing a badge he had forged, or pretend to be a student needing help with a broken-down car. He used his knowledge of forensic science, gleaned from his psychology studies, to erase evidence. He would return to the crime scenes, sometimes to relive the horror, and in one infamous case, he even confessed to stealing jewelry from a victim's corpse, keeping a ring as a twisted trophy. The first major break in the case came when a teenage hitchhiker, Carol Da Ranch, escaped on August 31, 1974, after Bundy attempted to abduct her in Utah. She described a handsome man with a distinctive mustache, wearing a plaid shirt and a watch, a description that matched Bundy's known appearance. Her testimony, combined with forensic evidence linking Bundy's car to a victim's shoe print, led to his arrest on August 20, 1975, in Utah on charges of aggravated kidnapping. Bundy's trial in Colorado began on June 30, 1977, the first time a defendant could represent himself in a murder case. He took the stand, delivering a chilling, self-serving monologue about his own innocence, all while the courtroom listened in stunned silence. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence. Bite marks matched to Bundy's dental impressions, hair fibers, and the infamous bundle of hair found in his car. Despite his slick performance, the jury found him guilty of the murder of Karen Campbell, and he was sentenced to death. But the legal nightmare was far from over. Bundy was extradited to Florida to stand trial for the Chi Omega murders. In a dramatic courtroom scene on June 12, 1979, he again represented himself, cross-examining his own victims' families with a cold, analytical precision that left jurors unsettled. The defense's strategy hinged on casting doubt on the forensic evidence, yet the prosecution's case was bolstered by the testimony of surviving victims, DNA analysis of semen found at the crime scenes, and a confession Bundy would later give to a prison guard, describing in graphic detail how he had lured each woman to the house. On July 30, 1979, a Florida jury found Bundy guilty of the murders of Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, and he received 3 consecutive death sentences. While on death row, Bundy continued to manipulate the system, escaping twice, first from a county jail in Aspen, Colorado, in June 1977, and later from the Pitkin County Jail in December 1978. Before finally being recaptured in February 1979 after a brief, terrifying road trip that spanned several states. The final chapter closed on January 24, 1989, when Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. He went out with a smile, reportedly whispering, "I love you," to his attorney, a final act of charm that encapsulated his paradoxical nature. Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.